Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Hey, thank you all for coming out on a terrific day for a marvelous event for obviously a terrific, dedicated young man, longtime friend, and I can't tell you how important it is to do things like this, and I'm honored to be here. My name is Larry Fitzgerald, in case you may not know. I've been covering sports in this market now for 35 years, and right now I'm covering the NBA Finals, so I gave up Game 5 to be here. So, go Spurs, right? No, go Heat. But again, the Stacy Robinson field dedication and celebration, this is tremendous. You know, Stacy, me coming into this market as a reporter and learning the market and seeing the things that he did as a high school superstar and then taking it on to college and then obviously taking it to the zenith to go and win a couple of world championships with the New York Giants and to do what he's always done, give back to the community and the things that he's done in the National Football League for the National Football League Players Association certainly helped me along the way in being able to lead my son and making certain that he got everything that he needed to understand how you go along that path to go and achieve. So I am grateful to be here, and it's terrific to see so many beautiful and wonderful faces for a marvelous event. And I'd like to right now introduce to you the first of our many speakers. They'll be talking between 3 and 5 minutes. Give a warm welcome, please, to Candace Robinson. Candace?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Candace Robinson, for those of you who don't know me. I have the pleasure and the honor on behalf of my family to say thank you. Thank you for being here to help us remember, to recognize, and to rename this awesome multi-purpose field, and I've been waiting to say this, the Stacy L. Robinson Field. And let me take just a moment to acknowledge them, because if I don't, I'll be in big, big trouble. My sister-in-law, Nadine, say hello, stand up, recognize, be recognized. My nephews, Stacy's sons, Stacy Jr., Marquise and Miles, all came out from Maryland to be with us. And my siblings, from oldest to youngest, I have to make that clear as well. Layton, who most of you I'm sure know. Kimberly. And even Ramon, who insisted on being here after breaking his tibia just 2 days ago. So, again, thank you for being here. I think that I would be remiss if I didn't also say thank you for your effort and your initiative for helping to make this happen. I have to say it was actually a little more than a year ago. We were right down here celebrating Stacy's life at his repast. And the petitions that were going around and the initiative and the voices that were heard to say, hey, this should be Stacy Robinson Field has come to fruition. And so I'm very, very excited about that and very, very appreciative of that. And isn't it appropriate? Isn't it appropriate? It is very appropriate, and not just because Stacy played his first organized football on these dirt fields, but because he consistently came back and gave back to these fields. I went first so I wouldn't have to get mushy listening to somebody else. But isn't it appropriate, and not just because he was a professional football player, but because he used his position as a professional football player to give back to the fields and the community?
Yeah, that's right.
So thank you. You know, this is such a great thing. I'm overwhelmed. I'm very, very excited. You know, Without all of you, I'm going to use this opportunity as a teaching moment. Stacy and I were both somehow involved in education. I worked for a college, and Stacy was an educator in many ways. But we always talked about teaching moments. And I'm going to take this moment to say, look what we did. Look what you did. It was your initiative. You guys said, this field needs to be named the Stacy Robinson Field. You signed those petitions, you made your voices heard, and we were able to do that. So I think that this should be a lesson. When we want something done as a community, we get it done. That's right. We get it done. And that's a beautiful thing. So again, on behalf of my family, I just want to say thank you all for being here today to help us remember, recognize, and to rename this beautiful multi-purpose field the Stacy L. Robinson Field. Thank you.
That is just marvelous. You know, in many ways, I'm a St. Paulite, and it's so terrific to see so many beautiful faces. Although I'm a born and raised Chicagoan, go Blackhawks, Stanley Cup playoffs. We're up 1-0, game 2 tonight. And last I heard, we beat the Wild when the playoffs started to get where we're going. But anyway, not rubbing it in, but you got to enjoy it when it happens, you know. I grew up on hockey in Chicago. That's why I'm in the business of sports, because back in the day, Cubs weren't very good, White Sox weren't very good. But when I moved to the Twin Cities, my first job was at Gould Battery on Lexington and Como. So I'm a St. Paul guy, okay? Candace, that was a marvelous story, and it is really special when you talk about Stacy, because I can't tell you how many times he and I visited and talked about the things that I try to go about writing and making certain that we don't overlook. And there are a lot of changes going on right now, even in the National Football League, some that I like, some that I don't like. But when you don't have someone to give you that insight from the inside so you can get a sort of a head out on top, it's very difficult. And it will be difficult without many of the great things that Stacy Robinson did to help the National Football League get to where it is today. I'd like to at this time now introduce our next speaker, Mr. Bill Peterson. Bill Peterson.
42 years ago, right out of that door, came a little 10-year-old, Stacy Robinson. He was just a tremendous little football player, and I got to tell you how we named him. If you've ever seen a hummingbird, you know a hummingbird will flutter in place. You can't even see its wings moving. Then all of a sudden, that was Stacy Robinson. So we thought he should be called Hummingbird. But Hummingbird didn't sound right, so we called Stacy Bird, and that name lasted for 42 years. Tremendous person. Some people will come into your life and they'll be quickly gone. Other people come into your life, stay for a while, and then they're gone. Some people come into your life, they leave footprints in your heart, in your life, and you're never ever the same. That's Stacy Robinson. He's a man that did everything that he could do as a 10-year-old, did everything that he could do as a professional athlete, and as Candace mentioned, came back to the community and did many things with us. Stacy is one of the loves of my heart and all the heart of this community, and it's so appropriate that today we will have Stacy L. Robinson Field. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gabriel Walker, and I'm a recent graduate of Central High School, Mr. Robinson's alma mater. You know, when they asked me to speak at this occasion, I was a little surprised because I'm not the most knowledgeable of Mr. Robinson. However, I could not turn down an opportunity to speak about someone who I've heard such great things about, and someone who has impacted some people close to me. It's truly a pleasure to be able to speak on behalf of my school, and I'm honored to be here. Now, I'd like to point out that I have not had a direct relationship to Mr. Robinson, but my father and my aunt did, who are in the audience. And through them, I've heard some of the great things that Mr. Robinson did in his life, and I would like to share a little of my knowledge with you all. I met Mr. Robinson as a young kid, right around the age of starting football, and what a man to meet. My dad remembers all the way back to when Mr. Robinson played football at Jimmy Lee, formerly Oxford. He remembers that from the beginning, it was evident that this kid would be something special and would dominate on the field for years to come. A three-sport athlete in football, basketball, and track, who continued to wow the state of Minnesota throughout high school, and one of the best to ever come out of St. Paul. I can go on and on about how great Stacy Robinson was in sports and how he went on to play at NDSU, winning a championship there, winning 2 Super Bowls after being drafted by the Giants in the second round. Reaching the professional level speaks for itself. A dream for most kids, and one that I can't deny having at one point in my life. As good of an athlete as he was, what really sticks out to me is that I heard he was an even better person. To me, one of the most important qualities that you can have as an athlete is humility. Staying humble and playing at the professional level is something that I will always admire about athletes and of Mr. Robinson. My dad still talks to this day of how he was never too big to stay in touch or check in, something that can easily be overlooked when we think of an NFL athlete. Everyone that I've talked to has had nothing but great things to say about Mr. Robinson, and the impression he left on all who knew him can never be taken away. Stacy Robinson never forgot where he came from, and we won't forget him. With the naming of this field in his honor, his legacy will live on. It's truly been a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank you all for sharing in this memorable occasion, and wish you all a great rest of your day. Thank you.
After all, this is a football field, a sporting facility, and so since we don't have any cheerleaders around, we go Stacy Robinson. Stacy
Robinson, Stacy Robinson, Stacy Robinson, Stacy Robinson.
I'd like to introduce now a young man. I got the fortune of covering his career when he was a Minnesota Viking. He also played for the Baltimore Colts. Now they're the Ravens, but there's another story with that. But now he's one of the most successful business people in America. Let me introduce Mr. Tim Baylor.
Hey, Larry, thank you, and thanks for warming the crowd up for me. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I first heard of the legend of Stacy Robinson back in 1979 when I came to town with the Vikings. I didn't get a chance to meet Stacy until later after our playing careers, when Professor Mahmoud El-Kati asked Stacy and I to come to speak to one of his sports management classes. It's there that I realized who Stacy was, because we both spoke to the classes and we had a good time talking to the classes, but I realized that they like Stacy more than they like me. I looked up and I realized, I saw that Stacy had taken off one of his Super Bowl rings and was passing it around the class. And I determined that, oh, that's it. He got a Super Bowl ring. He passed it around, so that's why they're smiling and laughing at him. But later on the way home, I realized that it wasn't the ring. It was the light that Stacy shines. Stacy had a way of connecting with each one of those students in a way that I hadn't done and didn't have the capability of doing the way Stacy did. And they connected with him, and he had a rapport with them. And I sat back and I watched him work the room, and I learned something that day. But I also gained a friend that day. I'm from Washington, D.C., and my family is still in Washington, D.C., so periodically when I'd go home, I'd get with Stacy and we'd have lunch. Stacy and I would talk about the NFLPA, we talk about St. Paul, we talk about sports, we talk about connecting and reaching back to help our respective communities. That was Stacy. That was the man who had become my friend. So, on behalf of the National Football League and the National Football League Players Association, I'd like to congratulate you and honor Stacy by dedicating this field to him today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that special story, Tim. Obviously, Stacy did so many things behind the scenes and never really took the credit for them. so many initiatives, particularly with the NFL Players Association, and through that recent battle a couple of years ago with the collective bargaining agreement, one that many are happy with and some are not. But what a blessing Stacy Robinson was for this community, and that's what it says so much about all of you being out here. There's so many very important people out here, and obviously you can't name all of them. But I mean, when you bring out a Supreme Court Justice, a Hall of Famer, an MVP, Alan Page, and Randall McDaniel, I mean, we're talking Hall of Fame players that are from this community and contributed to the growth of what we enjoy and live and take part in every day living in Minnesota. I'd like to right now introduce someone who's played a special role for many, many years in our community. Recently nominated and awarded with an award from the Minnesota Lynx for her participation as a season ticket holder. How about a big hand for Debbie Montgomery?
Thank you, Larry. It's just my honor to be here today to honor Stacy with the naming of this field, but I got to tell you a few stories first. My daughter, I called her to let her know that this field was actually going to be named. She was here for the repass. And she said, you got to tell them how Stacy stayed connected with people from this community. Dawn was in New York. Stacy was with the Giants. Stacy kept continuing. She was in sports management, working with the NBA, WNBA, and Stacy kept her connected. And Nadine and the boys, they can tell, they were like a second daughter down there. She was just down there all the time. But I say that just to tell the story about, we've talked about his sports accolades, his heart. This guy never forgot where he came from. This guy was about community. This guy was about commitment. And that's what Stacy did. I know when I was on the council and I was getting this redone, the new Oxford and the new Jimmy Lee, we needed a field. And so the city said we need to have some turf. You know, the field is so bad, people breaking their ankles and everything else, playing in swamp and stuff. So I called Stacy. I said, Stacy, is there anybody we can talk to at the NFL that can help us to get some money? Stacy put on his work boots, started working through the NFL, worked with the Vikings, worked with the Players Association, and he came up with the money to get this field here. So it's the right thing to name this field after him, because he never said a word to you guys, to the world. He was behind the scenes, steadily working to make sure his community had the quality field for our young athletes and our young players to grow up and to become the next NFL All-Star, the next Hall of Famer, all of that. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thanks to the family, more importantly, thanks to Stacy for the dedication that he had for this community to be naming this field the Stacy L. Robinson Field today. Thank you.
Our next speaker, but before I introduce Mr. John Bennett, I'd like to remind you, when I moved to the Twin Cities, I came here for one reason, and that was to be a big fish in a small pond. As you can see, I'm pretty big, and we got plenty of water, but the one thing that I thought would happen would be that the Vikings would be taking me to Super Bowl championships every year. So if you're wondering why the Vikings haven't won a Super Bowl yet, it's probably because of me, They haven't won one since I started covering the Vikings, but they're getting close. As you know, last year in the playoffs, and this year they hope to be even better. Right now I'd like to introduce Mr. John Bennett. John?
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Say, let's give yourselves a round of applause. We're making history today in St. Paul. My name's John Bennett. I'm Vice President with Western Bank. We're proud to be one of the sponsors of today's event, and I'm speaking on behalf of the St. Paul Parks and Conservancy. With that, I'd like to recognize a few of our board members and our executive director, Leslie Cook, who seems to be running off the field. Stand and wave, be recognized. Marge Holes, I see you. Priscilla Brewster, Garth Morissette, And I see Miss Robin Hickman as well. Thank you all for coming. You're making this a wonderful event, and it's going to be a tremendous gift and dedication to the city of St. Paul. It's wonderful to be part of a program that recognizes the Stacy's Light Still Shines, especially in St. Paul when there's so many great and wonderful things happening. It's fun to see the City of St. Paul and the Parks group. Mike Hom and his group have done a wonderful job bringing a lot of resources together, and we get to add that final component that makes this an all-star, world-class facility for so many kids in the area to enjoy today and in the future. I'd also like to recognize Candace Robinson. I'm sorry, can you hear me? Perfect, thank you. We're looking to raise the final $340,000. The NFL Players Association is working diligently with us, as well as the NFL players that are here today. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you how honored and awestruck I get when I run into people like Greg Coleman, Randall McDaniel, Alan Page, and Dr. Leo Lewis. Can we give them a round of applause as well? They're making this a wonderful event. We've got a little bit of work left to do. We've got a few partners we're going to lean on. We're looking forward to their commitment, and we're excited about what remains. But more importantly, this is going to be a wonderful gift for so many people going forward, and it's our pleasure as St. Paul Parks and Conservancy to be one of those contributors. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the day.
Good afternoon. Had to check my watch. My name is Melvin Carter, and I represent this area on the St. Paul City Council. It seems like not that long ago that I was a young fifth grader playing football out on these fields and dreaming big dreams about what I could do in athletics. And I got a chance to do a couple of things in track and field, but I'm honored to be here today as part of this celebration. As we get ready to celebrate Father's Day tomorrow, all the fathers raise their hand. Give them a round of applause, everybody. As we get ready to celebrate Father's Day tomorrow, and I look through the audience today and see my own father, Melvin Carter Jr., and see my own daughter, Naomi Carter. Hi, baby. You know, I think it's fitting that we're here today on Father's Day weekend, and here's why. As I look at my own daughter, there's no higher dream that I have for her than to go on and be prepared with everything she needs to live a great life, and a great life that people notice and makes a difference in the world, and go on and do wonderful and great things that everybody in the whole wide world can stop and look and say, wow, that's amazing what she's accomplished. And what would be even better than just that is if she never forgot where she came from, if she never forgot who poured into her, if she never forgot not just the individual people, but the community from which she came, and she spent the rest of her life kind of putting back and giving back to make sure that the next generation of young people from this community had every opportunity that she had and even more. And that, in short, to me, is the story of Stacy Robinson, who we're naming this field after today. We're talking about somebody who I don't have to tell you anything about his NFL career for you to know everything about his NFL career. Somebody who came straight from this community and did phenomenal things. I think it's so important. And I've told a lot of you this story before. When I was in high school and dreaming of going to the Olympics in track and field, I used to drive out to Blaine a couple times a week to train on a high-quality facility. Our children don't have to do that if they want to play football. They can play football in this facility right here. That's really important. And that's because, as you've heard already, of Stacy Robinson's work, and they're going to be able to play late into the evening because of the work he's still doing on our behalf. What's even more important, though, than our children being able to run on an incredible turf field. We talked about this at the city council last week, and one of my colleagues on the council, Chris Tolbert, who also grew up playing out here, was telling a story about how on the old field he once sprained his ankle just walking because the field was so uneven. So it's good to have this field here, but what's even better than that, if we want our young people to know what they can do and who they can be and what they can accomplish in this life, in their lives, is to know that somebody who came from this community, who ran on these fields, who threw this football, who used these facilities, has gone on to do wonderful things, to win not one but 2 Super Bowl rings, to do great things for our community, and to make sure that they've reached back and make sure that something like this is available for us. And so, naming this field after Stacy Robinson, I think is a phenomenal tribute to his life, to his accomplishments, to his legacy, and certainly to his family. But I'm even more excited about what the impact this will have on my children and our children that'll come out of this community, who will look up at that field one day at practice and say, Stacy Robinson, who was that? And maybe get on the internet and go, wow, he's from here? Wow, he played here? Wow, if he can do that, then I can't even finish that sentence, because I don't know that we can even imagine what all the young folks who come and play out here can continue to do, can continue to accomplish, can continue to be. We've acknowledged a lot of people today, and I want to make sure that I acknowledge a wonderful city staff who's done a great job on this field through all of the challenges that we've had. Mike Hom, please raise your hand, our Parks and Recreations Director. Gwen Peterson, stand up please and raise your hand. And with all the other City of St. Paul employees that are here, Parks and Rec employees, just wave your hand so we can recognize you. That's really important. I see my county commissioner and mother, Tony Carter, right here. Thank you for your work. And thank you all as we continue to make sure that every child in this community has everything that they need to succeed in school and in life. I think that this is a phenomenal day. It's a victory not just for Stacy Robinson. It's a victory not just for the Robinson family. It's a victory not just for Jimmy Lee football, which is the greatest football program in the history of the city of St. Paul. Had to put that in as I look at my coach Bruce there. But it's a great victory for our city and for our community. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here. I'm going to read a proclamation from the mayor of St. Paul, but I want to say, having grown up just a few blocks from here and seeing all the folks who have been so important in the development of Stacy, I want you to know that my contributions to Stacy's development was chasing him from behind. Well behind. Great neighborhoods need great spaces and public spaces and recreational facilities, along with strong schools, strong economic centers. We've got a light rail line coming down University Avenue that's going to bring, I think, tremendous prosperity to this neighborhood. Strong housing. This is all part of the effort over a many decade period to rebuild and strengthen what was a great community and what is a great community and what will be an even greater community. And this field, when you see it just driving by, you just see the sparkling green, you see the lights. I mean, it's a tremendous statement, not only to Stacy, but to so many of you who have made this really possible here today. So again, congratulations to all of you. I want to say congratulations to the city staff, to the rec center staff here for really making this happen. I want to read a proclamation. Whereas Stacy Robinson, the son of John and Gladys Thomas, was born on February 19th, 1962 in St. Paul, Minnesota, grew up in St. Paul's Summit University community, and attended St. Paul Public Schools. And whereas Stacy truly loved learning and was passionate about sports from the time he won his first trophy at Oxford Recreation Center to his many athletic accomplishments at St. Paul Central High School, North Dakota State University, and the NFL, where he won 2 Super Bowl championships. And whereas for 17 years, Stacy worked for the NFL Players Association, creating transformative programs that supported the enrichment of professional athletes on and off the field, helping them to succeed beyond their playing years. And whereas Stacy maintained a strong commitment to his St. Paul community, visiting home often, engaging with his family, friends, and the kids at Oxford, investing in the neighborhood as a businessman, and helping many young people reach their academic and athletic goals. And whereas the city of St. Paul remains committed to recognizing Stacy Robinson's legacy of scholarship, sports, and service as a beacon of light, now therefore I, Christopher B. Coleman, Mayor of the city of St. Paul, do hereby proclaim Saturday, June 15th, 2013, to be Stacy L. Robinson Day in the city of St. Paul.